Blue Collar Politics, press 9 for the truth.
And hello and welcome to Blue Collar Politics. I am your host, Thomas Fry, and let's go figure out what here we are. Okay. I added some cool stuff, and I guess I had more of it turned on than I thought I did. So, welcome to Blue Collar Politics. I am your host, the biblical survivalist, Thomas Fry, and welcome to all the very quick listeners I got this evening. I thank you for coming along. This is going to be a hell of a show tonight. We got some crazy stuff going on in today's politics, and our president is done a good job, which is pissing off the Democrats even worse. We will get into those subjects right quick. Let's bring up with a little bit what's going on with the studio. Every day and every week we get a little bit more done, and we are getting things working just a little bit better. We got it going on here, no problem. We've got everything going. The blue collar politics thing you saw in the very first, when we because we're using multiple computers and multiple streams to bring everything together at the same time, I needed a way to, other than just, you have to look at my ugly mug, but I wanted to come up with a way that would look really cool in the beginning, and my wheelchair keeps sliding back. And I wanted something really cool. So my son Andrew said, Dad, I got you on this. I was like, all right. And I didn't hear from him. And like 2-3 weeks later, he hands me that, and I was, damn, that thing is cool. So that will now show every Tuesday while we're getting the streams all on and working, to where I can get, because it takes a few minutes to get everything open every Tuesday while we're getting the streams, and make sure the volumes don't get in the way of each other, and to get everything going. So we play that right before we have that on, so we're there. We're just waiting for a slow server or something to pop up, get everything, so I can play the intro once. Last time I had to play it, last week, I think I had to play it like 4 times, because we kept, streams would come alive. You click go live, all in the buttons. It takes like 3 seconds. But then it takes, 30 to 40 seconds for everything to go live, from YouTube to Facebook to the multi-streams at the main network, and they have to move these streams and put them on the different networks so that we are that we have channeled to. So it's super cool how it all works, but it takes a minute to get everything done, and I mean exactly 60 seconds, because then after I get live, then my producers have to then bounce that signal to other places. So I try to just talk about a little bit of things going on with the studio that gives everyone a chance to catch up and get my stream going out to everybody. And but man, let me tell you, if y'all wasn't listening Saturday, that was a show, man. Woo! That was a show. We went over on time. We could have talked the rest of the night, I'm telling you. But Daryl jumped on, my producer, and it was a hell of a show. Don't forget, we got Thomas Friday live now on every Friday at 5 p.m., where all we do is give you the news that happened between Blue Collar Politics and Friday. And all news, world news, everything of what's going on. So that way, we want to make sure we got you covered. And then Saturday, of course, is Sci-Fi Talk, and that's where we talk about everything. And we got an awesome guest coming up for you this Saturday. We got Chris Garcia on from the beginning to the end. We have not had a chance to sit down and talk yet, so this ought to be a very interesting show. I've popped in on his show, and he had about 5 people on right then at the time, and it was crazy, but it was cool. It was a lot of good information going out. So we will talk with him on Sci-Fi Talk on Saturday. So that's pretty much the laundry list. Yes, I am doing 3 shows now, but Friday news is only an hour. Thank God, because it takes a lot to prepare this news. I mean, I'm going to go through and read you the article, but before I have to have read the entire article, check out if there's any pop-ups, make sure there ain't none of that crazy shit that gets up in my way that keeps me from telling you what's going on. All right, now I know we're in the middle of coronavirus, and we will get there, but I want to talk about something else first. I want to talk about the trade deal from China and how good we are doing with this. Now, I want to tell you also about the millions of jobs that look like they are coming back to America. Looks like once we get past this COVID-19, we are going to have everything that we've ever wanted in this country. We're going to have jobs galore, and so let's get the stats out of the way, then we'll get into China. So the case overviews, Florida, where the studio is, we're at 27,000 confirmed cases with 839 deaths. United States is at 824,700. Recovered, there's 75,000. These are all within 50 or so. I'm not reading each individual number. I think that's a waste of time. And 45,000, about 300 deaths. Worldwide, we're at 2.5 million, over 500,000 recovered, and we're coming up on 180,000 dying. Horrible numbers, and this all came out of China. Now, the reason I'm reading these, and I want to go right into the China trade deal, is I want to read this article and then let's talk about it. China has long dreamed of being the dominant power on the planet. Until recently, it seemed well on the way to succeeding, with the stamp "Made in China" appearing on nearly a third of the world's manufactured goods. What a difference a pandemic makes. On Friday, Chinese officials said their country's economy shrank by 6.8% from January to March 2020, compared with 1 year ago. The China dream of dictator Xi Jinping is now on life support, in grave danger of succumbing to the same novel coronavirus that he and his fellow communists unleashed upon the world. I say we turn off the ventilator. This sentiment seems to be even more infectious than the disease itself. A Harris poll released on April 6 found that 77% of the U.S. population believes China is to blame for the pandemic. Before this thing has run its course, most of the world's 7 billion plus people likely agree. It was just 3 years ago that Xi made a triumphal entry into Davos, celebrated the new champion of free trade by the Europeans, leery of Trump's America's First policy. Today, it's hard to imagine an invitation to Davos, or an invitation to anywhere, frankly, being extended to the Chinese dictator whose campaign of silencing and intimidating medical whistleblowers and allowed the virus to flourish and eventually spread across the world. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he's furious with China as he recovers from the coronavirus, which nearly killed him earlier this month. And his wife still has, by the way. So they went from him living in the basement and his wife living in the house to she got COVID-19, so she's living in the basement and he's living in the house. So he ain't seen his wife in like 3 months. They can talk through a door, but that's as close as they can get. That's gotta suck. And he's pissed at China too. Not only may he be shut out of China's state-controlled electronic firm Huawei from the UK's 5G networks for good. He has promised that there will be other consequences for Chinese failure to share accurate and timely information on the deadly virus. I think China should have to pay the $2 trillion just in first. They need to pay the $2 trillion that our government said paid out to everyone. And they've got another $300 billion that just got okayed and another $250 billion after that they are working on getting the okay through Congress. Now, we can't keep doling out money like that. Oh, hey, Pete. Hey, Andrew. I see you guys there, so I appreciate y'all coming in and listening. Hopefully you'll find what I'm talking about important to you. But it's going to have to do with everybody because when Trump made the America First policy and he went after China, he did one thing, and the result from the one thing is a million things. So what's going to happen is everyone's pissed at China, and Trump is pushing companies to, hey, move your manufacturing out of China and bring it back to America. We'll give you some tax cuts so you can bring it back and get it fired back up. Now, we're talking companies that employ 50, 60,000 people. So if they move their manufacturing back to the U.S., they have to build new plants, they have to build the machinery that goes in, they have to hire the people to do all that, and then they have to hire a new staff to run it. You'll probably see some Chinese personnel over here in management, and that's to guide the Americans in how they were doing what they were doing and making such a good go of it. But then you bring that one company over here, and that will trigger 100 more companies, because if you build a new building, and we're talking astronomically huge, so they're going to pick a small town, and they're going to go in, and they're going to, bam, everything's going to change. Everyone's going to have a job. You're going to have new gas stations, auto dealers, you're going to have new grocery stores, home builders, homes for sale, realtors, you're going to have everybody. So if a company brings in 50,000 employees, say, and that's all over the U.S., that 50,000 needs another 100,000 in jobs that have nothing to do with the company to support those 50,000, because they need homes, beds, food, cars, women, men, hospitals. I mean, you name it, they need it. So all that's going to, and even if it exists, like say it comes into a town, there's already a hospital, you can't add, thousands of people in there and not make the hospital bigger. So they will expand. This would be great if we could go NAFTA, come back home. Fuck NAFTA. Come back home. Bring your manufacturing back. Put all the automotive building back in Detroit. And not even all of it. I mean, we have a great Honda plant down in Marion, Ohio. You can put new, but we at least need to bring some manufacturing of automobiles back in Detroit. There's already a substructure built for making it there. And then that will start cleaning up the neighborhoods. It'll put people back to work, and it would just explode this economy. So, and now, I want you to understand something. It's going to hurt for a couple of years. This is not, it's awesome. I love it, okay? But until you do get those businesses back in the country, it takes time for the architectures and the building, and you have to go through a lot. So it is really going to be tight for a while, but that's the price. That's what happened when NAFTA left, and they didn't tell us about it, and it sucked over here. Now that NAFTA's over and they're coming home, then woohoo. I love the idea of having manufacturing back in the United States. We already have, like Motorola never left, yay for them. You have a lot of companies that didn't leave, and their mag flashlight didn't leave. They just bought some parts in China, so hopefully they'll now get them parts made in America. And hopefully it won't make that $59 flashlight jump up to $69. But if it does, I'll pay the extra $10 and get the new flashlight. But we can do it as our own, and we need to be less dependent on China. And if we're going to go outside the country, or you want to look for something, then you can go to Canada, you can go down to Mexico, you can go somewhere where a semi truck can bring it, or a train can bring it back home and bring the parts here. But if we bring back even a portion of the manufacturing that's out over the whole world, then that would do wonders for our country. We would be in great shape. And so we want this, and I don't know if you can bring everything from China back. I mean, once the structure's built, there may be some things that just end up being manufactured there, because sometimes you can't compete with that cost when you got lazy people wanting to make $25 an hour pushing a broom. You're not going to make those kind of wages. Okay, we need to, with that much employment coming back, that will lower the salaries of the employees as the market will finalize and settle as it goes. And I'm trying to not big word you to death, but the logistics of everything is going to cause a depression or a slight recession in the economy till everything gets built, and that could last as long as 5 years. The stock market will shoot back up, probably to its highest numbers ever, because people get excited about Made in America. We're going to need new business people that, start applying through the SBA and get a loan and get your business going. It's time to step out and let's make America great again. So even after a 4-year attack on President Trump, which ended up in nothing, he still found a way to make America great again. And we need to, the Chinese need spanked. I don't know how else to say it. They did wrong, and it cost American lives. 176,000 lives, 926 deaths are gone. You can't bring them back. We have over 2.5 million cases that their lives are interfered with. They're in the hospital, or they're sicker than hell, separated from their family. Someone has to pay for this. Out of 2.5 million cases, only 679 have recovered so far. That's a huge number that still is sick, and we don't know if they're going to die and fit in that column or fit in the recovered column, but they got to go in one of them. It's not good, and if we would have known it earlier, we could have done this, because you see what's happening in America. About 70% heeded the stay-at-home warnings, and they went home, and they stayed that way. I only went out when I had to. I got a new studio box, which is over there, which I desperately needed, and I got a new wheelchair, which is super cool. I'll point the camera down at it later. I really like my chair. The infection on my leg is a little bit worse. It's not quite healing perfect, so it might be a while before I get a walk again. But I don't care what comes in my way, I will walk again. So that's just the way it is. All right, so getting back to China. Every news article, every person that I've talked to, everyone wants to go after China for not, they should have said something back in January of how deadly this was, okay? They should not have waited. They should have went and told everybody, hey, we got an out-of-control virus. We got an entire town that's sick that we just, because people got on planes and spread this around the world in no time. Damn, it was quick. And because nothing was done about it when it started in January and it went 3 months with no one even knowing it, they're still shaking hands, hugging, and passing on this sickness, and a lot of people died for it. People getting on buses and killing the bus driver, just like as if they had a knife or a shotgun. Definitely not cool. But that's how it went in this country, and it's sad. When I went up to Washington a couple weeks ago, as you probably already remember, and the streets were dead. We're putting together a YouTube video of there's 435 pictures. I'm not putting them in one YouTube video, but I'm going to do a series of my trip to Washington and the people that we saw there. So we will have a gazillion photos of what we saw in empty roads. I'm talking, we drove around the White House and the roads pretty much, there was no cars in the parking lots. There was, that was the first time I think I've ever seen the Pentagon parking lot empty, all levels. And the cars that they own for business, the government cars, they're all lined up and back in a protected area and not going anywhere. I mean, everybody who's smart has heeded this and stayed home and not, I thought it was like the flu in the beginning, I was like, this sounds like it ain't a big deal. I didn't have the proper information. So China neglected to tell everybody that this happened. So that comes with, and in this article, the big question is whether American companies, say Apple, will begin to move its production out of China in the wake of this pandemic. Left to their own devices, they probably wouldn't. It would mean sacrificing their bottom line for intangibles such as U.S. national security and economic independence. But governments are already intervening to make sure their companies do act in the national interest. Japan's government just announced they will start paying its companies to relocate out of China. Other countries, including our own, will doubtless follow suit. Then there are the Trump tariffs, which we will kick back in if China fails to keep its promise to buy $250 billion worth of American-made products before the end of 2021. In the next year, Chinese economy will suffer death by 1,000 cuts. A resumption of the Trump tariffs, supply chains relocating to other countries, factories moving into freer climes, consumers around the world rejecting China's wares. No single cut will be fatal, but taken all together, they will bleed China's economy dry. They may also, it is to be hoped, shake the corrupt and incompetent Chinese Communist Party to its very foundations. For the sake of our well-being and national security, America has long needed a hard decoupling from China. Ending its independence requires considerable economic sacrifice on our part, but there is much more to the China price than upfront cost. Factor in the trillions of dollars of damage to the global economy because of the Made in China pandemic, and the cost is simply too much to bear. Okay? So, and you damn well better believe that England's moving out all of their stuff from China after almost killing the prime minister, and then his wife is sick now. You don't mess with people's families, and China went around and messed with all the world's families. There's a price to pay for that. You don't mess with people's families. The only way you can succeed at doing it, I'm sad to say, is you have to kill everyone. Because if you leave someone young that sees it, when they grow up, they are coming after you. So China, I don't even know if that Communist Party will survive this. I think they're going to have to step down, and the Chinese government may even change. It's difficult to forecast now just how bad it's going to be for everybody. But just remember one thing, it's going to be temporary. We'll build back up. Just hang on. You know, with all these companies coming home, that hopefully will put millions of Americans back to work. Remember, every company that, say, is 50,000, they're going to create another 100,000 worth of legit jobs and yet another 10 or 5,000 of illegit jobs, and a lot of people are going to get back to work, which would be great. I mean, that's what we are all about here at Blue Collar Politics, is we want to see America do good. We bring the information to you the best we can. So, all right, that's the coronavirus, or the effect that coronavirus, the COVID-19 strain of the coronavirus, is how it's going to affect business and businesses. I'm with you. I don't like how the money was distributed out, and I don't like it when Democrats like Nancy Pelosi, or whatever her name is. Let me find that article. Oh, I don't know where it went. I might have accidentally deleted it. I can't stand her. She's sitting there on a YouTube video showing how she's got $27,000 refrigerator full of ice cream. While people stand in food lines, these Democrats are already having thousands and thousands of dollars in food in their house, when you and I have to wait for an hour to get a limited supply of whatever's available. It's not too awful bad, but it's not pretty. I mean, when you go to the grocery store, you're trying to time it to where there's not a lot of people there. You got to put a face mask on. You got to clean your hands or wear gloves. You have to clean all the packaging. You have to wipe down the grocery cart before you get stuff in it. It's just all this other crap, and the Democrats are sitting on full refrigerators. They didn't have to lift a finger. They just made a list, and boom, they got everything they need. Now, how come she can get 500 gallons of ice cream, but we can't even get a gallon? So, this is, I think at the end of it all, another 4 or 5 years, and we are all seeing how selfish and self-centered the Democratic Party is, and it's going to blow up in their faces. We're going to lose the Democratic Party, which would be great. And maybe some of these smaller parties, that they can get bigger. I think we need to make sure there's at least 3 or 4 parties, political parties, in this country. But I think we need to destroy and eliminate the career politician. We need to get back to our roots. Our roots were, you work for 20 years, then when you're retired, you go into politics and you help straighten out the country to where everyone else can work. But if you don't have 20 years experience, then you don't understand what it takes to keep a business as large as the United States government running. You don't get it. So I think that should be a requirement. You have to have worked for 20 years in one field. I'm not talking jumping jobs every 2 years. I'm talking be at a place for 20 years to understand what it takes for this country to survive. So that covers China, that covers the basic of the COVID-19. Now, we've heard some crazy stuff lately about it jumping from dogs to humans to, to be on the safe side, quit with the doggy kisses and quit rolling around on the living room floor with your dog. Your dog, some believe that can give you the COVID-19 strain. After all, it did originate in bats, so it did make the species jump already and went from bats to humans. So going bats to dogs wouldn't surprise me one bit, seeing how it was already in bats. A new study suggests COVID-19 hopped from dogs to humans. Here's why you should be skeptical. The novel coronavirus likely originated in bats, but the pathogen may then hopped into dogs before infecting humans, a new study suggests. But not everyone agrees with that hypothesis. One expert told Live Science that there are a lot of weaknesses in the study, that the data doesn't support the study's conclusions. But this is how it is figured out. One person has to give you, hey, this is what I think, put everything down on paper, and let your peers look at it. And all right, well, this couldn't happen this way because of this. And you have all the adjustments that can be made to a scientific paper or research paper. I mean, that's how it's designed to work. Before the evolution of a virus, before the new coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, made the jump to humans, the other coronavirus, SARS-CoV and MERS-CoV, which is short for coronavirus, evolved in bats and passed through other animals on their way to people. SARS passed through civets, and MERS passed through camels. And the molecular structure of SARS-CoV-2 suggests that the virus also passed through an intermediate animal. But the scientists don't yet know exactly which one. In February, the authors of the preliminary study published to the preprint database BioRx the 4th suggested that pangolins bridge the gap between bats and humans, since SARS-CoV-2 and related coronaviruses that infected the pangolins sport similar spike proteins, a structure on the surface which is a virus that allows it to infect cells. But other scientists argued that despite their spike proteins, pangolin coronaviruses bear many difference to SARS-CoV-2 that made pangolins unlikely to be the source of the infection. With the mystery unresolved, the biology professor Exus Dia of the University of Ottawa in Canada launched his own investigation into how the coronavirus passed from bats to people. I got a little thing here. I want to see if it plays right or not. It's how coronavirus...
Going to the grocery store used to be a pretty mundane task. But now, in the middle of a coronavirus pandemic, it's turned into a pretty nerve-wracking ordeal. So I've compiled a guide to grocery shopping during the COVID-19 pandemic. There are steps you can take to protect yourself and others before you even get to the grocery store. The first thing you should do is you should consider whether you need to go shopping. We've been told to stay at home as much as possible, and this means limiting your trips to the grocery store. So if you only need a few things, try to make do with what you have, and plan a big shopping trip for later. You should also consider whether delivery of groceries may be an option instead. According to North Carolina State University, delivery is a good option because it helps reduce the number of people going to grocery stores and touching things, and also helps with social distancing. You should try and maintain a distance of at least 6 feet between yourself and others. If you do go shopping, you should try and go alone, which reduces the number of people going to grocery stores, as well as your family's overall exposure to the virus. Most importantly, do not go shopping if you have symptoms of COVID-19, such as fever, cough, or shortness of breath. It's very important to stay home if you have these symptoms. so that you limit the spread of the virus. To North Carolina State University, you should sanitize your hands frequently because it helps reduce the number of people go to the store and after you leave. It's also recommended that people wear cloth face coverings when they go out in public. And that's mainly to prevent the spread of COVID-19 from people who are infected but don't yet show symptoms. It's also important to try to only touch what you buy. So that means don't pick up multiple items in the grocery store and put them back down again. You should really try and limit what you're touching. And as always, when you get home from the store, you should wash your hands, particularly if you've been handling food packaging or bags. It's also a good idea to rinse produce before you eat it, but there's no need to use soap. I spoke with Benjamin Chapman, a food safety specialist, a professor at North Carolina State University, and he told me that soap is for hands, not for food. Finally, if you use reusable grocery bags, you should wash them after a trip to the grocery store, either by putting them in the laundry or using soap or other disinfectants. These are steps that will hopefully protect you and others at the grocery store.
Okay, that one was actually...
On March 24th, a primary care doctor in Michigan posted a video for handling food during the COVID-19 pandemic. The video said people should pre-soak produce in soapy water and then wash it for 20 seconds with soap. This is dangerous because fruits and vegetables are porous and can absorb soap. Using soap on these foods could lead to health problems such as nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, these products are not approved or labeled by the FDA for use on foods. You can ingest residues from the soap absorbed on the produce. We've known for 60 years that there are toxicity issues about consuming household dish soaps. It's not a compound that our stomach is really built to deal with. It's also a bad idea to rinse produce with a dilute bleach solution, vegetable soap, or even lemon juice or vinegar. There's no scientific evidence that any of these work to kill SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19. Instead, rinse fresh fruits and vegetables with running cold water to remove 90 to 99% of contaminants. You can even scrub if necessary. After Live Science reported this story, the doctor said he was amending the video for safety. As always, make sure to wash your hands after touching any compromised surface.
Okay. We don't care about the next one. I'm not going to read the rest of this because that pretty much covers it. The basic of cleaning stuff when you get home. Just remember, if at least wash your hands. I mean, come on. 2-3 times a day, please. I don't want to have any listener disappear and not be able to listen to my show and where I can keep them straight. Yeah, I'm trying to get situated so I can read here. I bumped my microphone, damn it. You are listening to Blue Collar Politics, and I am the Biblical Survivalist, Thomas A.J. Fry, your host. And we are here on the GERN Network, Global Enlightenment Radio Network. And I appreciate them for all the help they've given me as, as we progress and help me with putting on my show. Something I wanted to bring up because I don't know about you, but I love animals. A zoo is struggling so much that it may have to feed some animals to other animals. When we got Nancy Pelosi with 500 tons or whatever of ice cream that she has, 500 gallons or whatever it was, and then you got zoos can't get enough food to feed their animals. That makes me hate Democrats even worse. The selfish bastards. We need these supply chains back working. I like the fact that we can start looking to get back to work on after May 1st. But you got to be careful about doing it. Make sure you got a good face mask. Invest in some rubber gloves to keep your hands clean. And just remember, when you put gloves on, that doesn't mean you can wipe your face with the glove. It means if you got an itch, you have to take off the glove, dispose of it, take care of your itch, and then put a new glove on. And don't be one of these scumbags that throw them down in the parking lot before you get back in your car. How disgusting is that? You take a Ziploc storage bag with you. You put the disposed glove that you just took off in the Ziploc bag, because when you pulled it off, you should have turned it inside out. That's how you take a glove off. And then you put it in the plastic bag until you can find a trash can or take it home and put it in your own dumpster or trash can so it can go out. Let's start, if we have to be careful, we have to keep our distance when we get back to work. It's not going to be the same. It's a new normal, okay? The world will change because of this. How we shop, how we eat, how we work, how we drive, everything. You can't do, the fist bump will come back because you can't shake hands. When I went and bought the studio box, I did the elbow bump. You have to be careful, okay? I really, really want everyone to be careful. This new thing is my, what do you call it? my story that goes, man, that just sucks. Faced with the disruption in food supply chains and a steep revenue decline due to the coronavirus pandemic, one zoo is considering drastic measures, turning some of its residents into food. The longer that the coronavirus lockdowns continue and the more financial situations become, the more realistic it is that the Neumünster Zoo in North Germany will have to consider its absolute last resort plan, slaughtering some of its zoo animals to feed others. The Neumünster Zoo, home to more than 700 animals and more than 100 species, have drafted an emergency plan listing which animals will be euthanized to cut costs and in what order. The zoo director, Verena Kasperi, told German news agency Deutsche Presseagentur, DPA. Through its unclear which animals will be slaughtered first, a polar bear named Vitus, which stands nearly 12 foot tall, would be the last animal to go. If and this is really the worst case of all, if I no longer have any money to buy feed, it should happen that my feed supplier is no longer able to supply due to new restrictions, then I would slaughter animals to feed other animals, Kasperi told the news agency. Kasperi said she would rather euthanize the zoo's animals than have them starve. CNN has reached out to Neumünster Zoo for comment. German zoos in crisis. Now that the Neumünster Zoo is no longer generating revenue from visitors due to the national shutdown enacted on March 15th, the zoo is operating solely through donations, Kasperi told DPA. The German government has started rolling out an economic rescue package worth up to 750 billion euro, which is 825 billion American, among the largest relief packages launched anywhere in the world. The package includes a measure to spur lending to businesses, take stakes in companies, and support furloughed workers, though it's unclear whether zoos are receiving any funds. We have an association and don't get any city money, and all the state money we've applied for so far hasn't arrived yet, Kasperi told DPA. Well, it sounds like they're having the same problem over in Germany that we're having here in America, but they're wrong about the 750 billion being the largest. Our country did 2 trillion, so They haven't done everything or the biggest, but I'm kind of curious, with everything going on, I got a question. What have you noticed? Now, someone answer me in the chat room. I've got them all working, so I can see every chat room. Tell me, what is the one worldwide thing that has stopped due to the coronavirus? And it stopped early and is still stopped. What is the one thing that is same all around the world, everywhere? What has stopped? Can anybody answer me that? I'll give you the answer here in a few minutes. We're about to take our break, so when we come back from the break, I will tell you what the answer is. But someone jump in one of the chat rooms and give me an answer or what you think it is. This is major league important. This is astonishing. This is one of the only good things to ever come out of COVID-19. All right, so let's get back to the show. And that's, you know, we have a couple of cool zoos down here. We got Gator World. We've got, some of the largest safari zoos on the planet. And no employees, but because the corporations are fairly large that run them, with all the everything except for Gatorland, they're not going to run out of money anytime soon. I mean, they will stop the funds at one point, but at this point, they are not. All our animals are eating fine. Gatorland is doing different things to help, feed the gators, and they are surviving. And I get, every other day I get a report of how they're doing and how how's it going with the gators. But it's a pretty cool thing to see that how much Americans help other Americans in times of crisis. Now, if we can only act that way when we're not in a crisis, then wow, this would be a great place to live. Everyone would be jealous of us, just because we are all getting along, and that being the only reason. So, also tell me what you think of that new banner I started in the front. I hope you like it. It makes where you're not just listening to dead air right in the beginning. It actually gives you something to look at. I sat there and looked, once I got it loaded, I sat there and looked at it for 20 minutes. I think Andrew did an awesome job on that. So everybody where you're at, give him a hand. He did a great job making the blue collar politics intro. I love it. Now I need one for Sci-Fi Talk, son. It'll have to wait, I know. That my son is going into the military, and I am so proud of him. And it got postponed by the COVID-19. So everything has been affected by it. All right. We are going to take a little break now, and if I can grab the right mouse, and we will be right back after these messages.
At Benzer Pharmacy, we understand busy. That's why all our locations offer free home delivery, personalized service, refill reminders, and specialty medication, even pet meds.
Are you tired of coming home to find out only that you've been robbed? Did your alarm company call you and tell you that you've been robbed and the police will be there in 20 minutes? No one can stop all thieves. But at CK Custom Security Consultants, we can design and install a real CCTV security system that will give you the evidence you need to put them away. Here at CK Custom Security Consultants, we do an on-site engineering assessment where we discuss the pros and cons of the different security systems available that just might suit your needs. This service is free. There are several different financial options available for you, and we look forward to meeting you and assisting you in reaching your security goals. CKCustom.com, where all of your security needs are met. Blue Collar Politics is brought to you by CK Custom Security Consultants and Paladin Security Consultants. Offers you an unparalleled after-the-sale service where you become a client, not just a sale. We offer DVR multi-camera systems, access point sales and service, NVR multi-location systems up to 320 cameras, biometric safeguards, wireless cameras, computer networks, mobile cameras for car, truck, camper, or semi-truck, POS, point of sale, cash register systems, video compiling, loss prevention. We are experienced with the court procedure, asset protection, hardened access point installs, door or upgrade. We offer expert security analytics free with purchase. We also offer free digital forensic service all the way to the courtroom. We never leave our clients to fend for themselves. We work with the police department and the prosecutors to ensure your interests are looked after. At CK Custom and Paladin Security Consultants, we can work with your contractor to install your security DVR system during a remodel or new construction in order to hide the wire, providing the perfect professional install. We are here to make your business more secure. CKC Security Consultants and Paladin Security Consultants are ready to help enhance your security, engineer, installation, and maintenance, and investigation. Browse our site and give us a call for a free on-site consult at 352-321-9519. We serve the Central Florida area, but we do have the capability to travel with a system in anywhere in the state of Florida. You can go to ckcustom.com and find out everything about the camera systems we offer, and if you have any questions, we have multiple pages that explain each one of the features that we list for sale. We want to make sure you understand what you are getting when you get it, and that you will know you are protected after you purchase a system from Paladin Security Consultants.
You have been listening to the Blue Collar Politics Radio Talk Show, and I am your host, Thomas Fry, the Biblical Survivalist. We are here to help you understand and survive these modern times where things are turned all around, upside down and downside up. This alternative news talk show is where the truth is told, because there is no pressure on what subjects we decide to talk about. We are part of the Global Enlightenment Radio Network, which is on 24 hours a day for your listening pleasure. Blue Collar Politics is on every Saturday night from 7 to 11 p.m. And if you missed the broadcast and you want to go back to catch any previous shows, just go to bluecollarpolitics.org and click on the Listen to BCP tab. And if you like the show, please hit the donate button, because we direct and produce our own shows, and we want to stay on the air for you. So every dollar helps. And if you have a little time, please check out our store where you can get all of your Blue Collar Politics products, like our Doctor in a Bottle, Kaleido Silver at 18 parts per million, guaranteed. Or maybe you just want a t-shirt with our logo on it to show the world you are definitely awake. We hope that you are having a good time listening, and it is time to get back to the show. So here is our host, the biblical survivalist, Thomas Fry.
All right, we are back to the show. The rest of that's music, so we will cut that off, and we will get right back to what we were discussing, and that'll be the last on that. So what we're going to do is now we're going to do the coronavirus updates from around the world, because we do a worldwide show, so I want to make sure that we cover everything. The Italian Prime Minister unveils a 5-point plan to handle the coronavirus outbreak. The Italian, addressing Italy's House of Representatives, Conte said that the plan will focus on continued social distancing and with use of masks and gloves until a vaccine or therapy is available. Reinforcing the healthcare system and paying special attention to the care homes and to avoid another out-of-control explosion of contagion. Creating special COVID-19 hospital... Oh, crap. God, sorry. I need a cough button. Sorry about that. Creating special COVID-19 hospitals designated to cater exclusively to coronavirus patients. Conducting antibody testing in large study to determine the spread of the virus among the population. Conte said 300,000 serological tests have been requested. Contact tracing. Last week, the government officially chose to contract tracing app called Immuni, which is in the testing phase, but choice to download will be voluntarily, Conte said. COVID-19 virus lingers longer in sicker patients, Chinese study finds. The new coronavirus lingers as long as 3 weeks in the bodies of the patients with severe disease, Chinese researchers reported Tuesday. The virus can be found deep in the lungs and in the stool of the patient. The sicker they are, the longer it stays. A team at hospital in China's Zhejiang province reported, but the virus was found in the urine of patients less than half the time, and rarely in the blood at first. Their report provides another piece of evidence about the pattern of disease of COVID-19 patients. It published in the BMJ, and unlike many recently studies about the coronavirus, this one has gone through peer review, which means other experts have reviewed their findings. The teams tested 96 patients who treated in their hospital for COVID-19 between January and March. They tested samples from the nose, throat, from deeper in the respiratory systems, in the blood, stool, and urine. They wanted to see how long people had a virus in their systems and whether it was likely to spread in various ways. The findings support other studies that the virus could spread in stool from infected people. In general, the sicker people were, the longer the virus could be detected, and that could be important for doctors to know, so they can predict whether patients fare better and perhaps how long they'll remain infectious to others. Air Canada will suspend flights to the U.S. until May 22nd. According to a statement on Tuesday, Air Canada made the decision as a result of the agreement between the governments of Canada and the United States to extend the border restrictions by an additional 30 days. The airline is waiving change fees for customers with bookings during that period, according to the statement. Air Canada has reduced its schedule by more than 90% since March 16th, the airline said. ICU admissions in France continue to decline, health officials say. It has gone down for the 13th consecutive day. Jerome Salomon, the director of France's health agency, announced today. Solomon, speaking on his daily conference in Paris, gave an overview of where things stood now. There have so far been at least 117,324 confirmed coronavirus cases in France, including deaths and recoveries. There is at least 30,000 patients that are currently hospitalized. Holy crap, that's a lot. And 5,433 patients are in intensive care units. That is a lot of people. Netherlands bans large events until September. I think we're banning large events till September of 2021. I know they are going to be banned for a long time, and that's going to basically kill many businesses in Florida and United States and everywhere. But this is over in the Netherlands, and I think they're crazy letting people put hundreds of thousands of people in one arena. That's just, you shouldn't do that. If it has a seating capacity of 100,000, you should only let 40,000 go in. You need to keep a couple of feet between people the whole time, or this is going to never be over. The Netherlands will extend its lockdown for most businesses until May 2nd and then ban large events until September 1st. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte said during a news conference on Tuesday, "As much as I understand that the impatience is creeping in, we know that a rapid ceasing could lead to the virus immediately getting a chance to peak again," Rutte said. "The uncertainty is still too large for a business that requires close contact. But the barbers and nail salons," he said. "Primary students will begin attending school in a staggered fashion starting May 11th. Children in primary education will, to start with, or go to school half the time," he said. "For example, one half of the students will go one day and the other half will go on the other day." That's definitely staggering. I'm not sure. We are not going to go back to school this semester. Everyone will continue to do the online learning for the rest of this year for most students and the rest of the semester for the college. I'm not sure if we're starting back up in the summer. I don't know, because I'll be attending, but no one's in the office right now. He said that the social distancing for these students is not realistic, but all the evidence indicates their COVID-19 risk is much lower. Some other primary education institutions like nursing and special education will be able to open to students full-time. Amazon France shutdown extended as the company awaits appeal decision. Amazon will extend its shutdown in France until at least April 25th, the company said on Tuesday. Amazon announced it was shutting down its distribution centers last Wednesday following a court ruling that ordered to restrict its local delivery operations to essential goods only. The company will reevaluate its position once the appeal court ruling is given on Friday, April 24th, Amazon said in a statement on Tuesday. Amazon employees will continue to receive their full salary, the statement added. France suspended all non-essential businesses last month. A measure of that is to set into to remain in place until May 11th. The French court also required the company to carry out an assessment of the occupational risk of COVID-19 epidemic in all of its warehouses. Vietnam will restart domestic flights on Thursday as the country sets to ease restrictions, according to the country's Civil Aviation Authority. The Vietnam has reported at least 268 cases of coronavirus and no deaths, according to the Ministry of Health. On Tuesday, the country recorded its fifth straight day with no new cases. Wow, that's good. The government has been credited with responding swiftly with tests as well as its efforts to quarantine people. As of Monday, the government reported 60,000 people were isolated at home, with another 15,000 quarantined in camps. Vietnam has conducted at least 174,489 tests, according to the country's Ministry of Health. The number of active coronavirus cases in Italy falls the second day in a row. Well, that's good, because Italy got hit hard and hard. They got hit hard quick, with no sight of relief. The number of active coronavirus cases in Italy falls second day in a row. I already read that. I'm sorry. According to the date released by the Italian Civil Protection Agency on Tuesday, the country saw the biggest daily drop in active cases, reporting 528 fewer cases than on Monday. Number of patients in the ICU has also dropped, with 102 fewer than that on Monday. That's good, because Italy, wow, they had a lot. Spanish children will now be allowed to on errands with parents. After 6 weeks in lockdown, children under 14 in Spain will be allowed to accompany one adult on trips to places like supermarkets, pharmacies, and banks starting on Monday, according to the new decree announced by the Spanish government today. The government is aware that this is only partial relief from this confinement, but we would also like to stress that our priority is to avoid hypothetical regression in the fight against the virus, said the Spanish government spokesperson and the finance minister, Maria Jesus Montero. Montero defended the decision, saying a common sense and rationality cannot be substituted, and activities such as bike riding, where the child's movements cannot be controlled and would not be advisable. Spain has the strictest coronavirus confinement measures in Europe. Last major cruise ship at sea fails to dock due to rough weather. The planned docking of the world's major last cruise ship remaining at sea was scuttled by rough seas on Tuesday, the Port Authority of Genoa, Italy said. The Costa del Giosa is now anchored just outside the port, officials said. The captain decided not to dock this afternoon given the sea conditions. The ship is located about 7 kilometers from the coast, and the docking schedule was for this afternoon. It is unlikely that the ship will dock before tomorrow morning, the Port Authority operations room told CNN. Costa del Giosa has 1,500 remaining guests and 898 crew on board. No cases of coronavirus have been reported on ship, a statement to CNN from Costa Cruises said Tuesday. Other than that ship, the Cruise Lines International Association says there are no major cruise ships with passengers at sea anywhere in the world. And by the way, I said I would tell you what it was if no one jumped on it and answered my question. And since this coronavirus started, there is not one single skirmish, war, or death by violence, by sanctioned war anywhere in the world. Everybody went home to their families and is taking care of their families, which I find very rare, and I also find it refreshing that they're not trying to fight each other while this coronavirus. Everybody is letting everybody get healed up. I'm sure they'll go back to fighting again when it's done, even though I think it's stupid. You stopped for a couple of months now. Why are you going to start back up again? You know, it's time to enter into a discussion and sign a ceasefire for everything. You know, you got nothing going on, so why fight, you know? It's just like if you're addicted to something and you've been off it for a couple of weeks, then there's no point in going back to it. I know some people will, but so that was the answer. There's no wars currently going on anywhere around the world. Oh, I'm sorry. The audio cut out on you? I'm still showing it bringing across the board. Can you hear me now? Hopefully we have a slight audio problem. At least someone says they cut out. If anybody else notices that, please holler in. I don't want to have audio problems at all. I will try to take care of them as soon as someone tells me. So hopefully that is not the case anymore. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Pakistan's prime minister will undergo coronavirus test for COVID-19 after he met a philanthropist. I can't say it. One of them rich people, they give away money. Last week, and was later diagnosed with coronavirus, said Dr. Faizi Sultan, Khan's personal physician and senior advisor on coronavirus. Sultan confirmed Tuesday that all protocols are in place regarding the testing, that once results come in, recommendations will be made accordingly. No details of the timeline testing have been released. The decision that came after Pakistan's eminent philanthropist Faisal Adi announced on Tuesday that he tested positive for coronavirus. Khan and Edie met in person 6 days ago. All right. Let's see. How many more we got? We got 1, 2 UK and 1 Iran. Oh, okay. No, we still got several. We got a new one that just hit, and I was deciding whether I was going to jump back up or finish these. I'll go ahead and finish these. UK to start human vaccine trials this week. That's cool, officials say. They'll begin on Thursday in Oxford, UK, Health Secretary Matt Hancock said today. That's good. U.S. and UK leaders discuss cooperation in combating coronavirus. U.S. President Donald Trump and UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson spoke over the phone today and discussed the UK-U.S. cooperation in the fight against coronavirus. Downing Street said in a statement. Thank you very much for noticing, and I worry about every listener I have. I will always be that way, and it won't change. So I will do everything I can to help any individual listener I have. Everybody else knows that, so do not worry about it. I'm glad you said something, and I'm also glad it's fixed. So we do have all listeners hearing right now, and I'm glad of that. All right, so we'll continue. Iran, we have not contained the pandemic. Arach Harachi, Iran's deputy health minister, said on Iranian state television today, we have not contained the pandemic and we cannot predict any deadline for it, he said. Iran's health ministry spokesperson Kinush Yanapur announced at least 1,297 new coronavirus. Ow! Okay. Yeah, don't ding me on, don't make me turn them off, but don't ding me on the personal messages during the show, or I'll have to shut everything off. I hate doing that because then I can't, it makes it hard to turn everything back on and make it work right, and I hate doing that. So I just got to leave them on, but I just kindly ask everybody, don't send me a personal message while I'm on TV, because that ding is loud, and I got a headset on, and it hurts my ears. I like see stars when it dings. It's like someone come up and box my ears with the sides of your hands. Have you ever, damn. Stop it, dude. You're killing me. Those things are loud. And I think he already disconnected, so he can't even hear me tell him to stop doing that. Please do not personal message me during the show. Only go through the chat rooms, because the personal things are killing me. And if I don't know what happens if I turn because the last time I tried to turn that stuff off and then do the show, I had technical issues out the yin-yang, because I have to have about 4 Facebook screens open on the same Facebook page, so it's amplified by all 4 pages. So even if I have the sound down to 25%, it's 25% over 4 separate pages all coming into one headset. So it's amplified. You know, you take 4 times 25%, that's 60-75% volume in my ear when it happens. So sorry about the dings. Please do not personal message me when I'm on the air. All right, get back to what we were doing. Spanish football team will sell stadium naming rights to fund COVID-19 research. That's cool. A Spanish football giant, the FC Barcelona, announced on Tuesday it will sell the naming rights to its iconic Camp Nou stadium for 1 year in an effort to raise money to fight against coronavirus. The announcement marks the first time a club has sold naming rights to their ground since it was opened in September 1957, with prospective sponsors encouraged to come forward. In a statement, the club's executive board said unanimous decision to cede title rights to the stadium for the 2021 season, and the Barca Foundation was taken to raise money to invest in research projects being carried out in Catalonia, and the rest of the world would be involved in the fight against the effects of COVID-19. The Barca Foundation will begin the process of finding a sponsor for the stadium in the next few weeks. The stadium will maintain the name Camp Nou. In addition, including to the sponsor, the club said. Camp Nou is Europe's biggest football stadium with a capacity of more than 99,000. Some health workers in Spain are getting hate messages despite the broad support for their work. Contagious rat read the message in large black letters painted on the side of Dr. Silvana Bonino's car. The Barcelona gynecologist was shocked to find the hateful graffiti in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, and she quickly filed a complaint with the Catalan Regional Police. It didn't take long for the police to identify a subject, a man who they put under investigation for alleged hate crime, said Catalan police spokesperson. We monitor social networks to prevent violence against healthcare workers, the police spokeswoman said. We can only take the complaints and act on them. Beyond this, there's not much we can do. It's hardly any comfort for some Spain's doctors who receive hate messages from neighbors who they fear are more liable to be infected from COVID-19 because of the doctors' work with patients. And, you know, I don't know about you, but whenever you have graffiti or someone does something to your vehicle, it really pisses you off, and it ends up costing a lot of money to fix it. We've all had stuff like that happen. You loan out a car, it comes back damaged. You wake up in the morning, you find someone spray painted on your car or stole your rims or stole your stereo. It's defeating, because sometimes it happens at your home or it happens at work, and wherever it happens, it now makes you leery of parking there, and it makes you uncomfortable. I absolutely understand where this doctor's coming from. A doctor goes to the hospital, and now the only thing that gets me on this is, how did that person know that that doctor was that car unless they were spying on them, when they went into work or come out of work. Because, I've known my doctor for years now, and I don't know what the hell he drives. I don't really care. But for someone like this that's just going to write graffiti on it and make rude comments about someone that's trying to help people and working extra hard while doing it, I mean, come on. They need to find this guy, string him up in public, and paint graffiti all over him. And, there, now you know how it feels. Because it feels like you're naked standing out and you've been violated. It's what it feels like, that's your transportation to get back and forth to work, and now you have to drive this home, and it's got this slander written all over it. You want to hurry up and hide the car in the garage, or you take it to the body shop and have to pay for a rental car because you ain't driving that car with that graffiti on it. It's worse than wrecking a car. It interferes with your personal security. It's just one of those things that works that way. You don't want it to happen, but what are you going to do? 9 times out of 10, the police can't do shit. That's why I started Paladin Security Consultants, because there were, how vulnerable businesses are when someone breaks through their fence, or they can't afford a fence, so they got, products sitting outside and people are stealing it and stuff like that. I got a couple of jobs that I was going to go do before this pandemic, and now that this pandemic has happened, I don't even know if the companies are still there. I guess I'll find out here shortly after everything starts getting back to what it's supposed to be. But yeah, that is not cool. I hope he gets caught, and I hope they put him in jail for a while. UK government is working hard to hit testing goals, but so far has only reached 20% of targets. It is promised to carry out 100,000 coronavirus tests a day at the end of the month. The Prime Minister spokeswoman said, according to Britain's Press Association, the country's health secretary, Matt Hancock, made the commitment at the start of April amid growing criticisms about lack of testing, especially frontline health care workers. According to the latest figures from the Department of Health, Social Care, 19,316 tests were carried out on Monday. Well, that's a little short. If they only got 20,000 and they were hoping for 100,000, that's 20%. I should post that on the website. Hang on, let me do something here, and I will post this on Facebook. Well, actually, I'll either retweet it or something. I'm probably going to retweet it. Give me 1 second here. I think it's that button, right? Retweet. Let's retweet it. All right, I've now retweeted it, so it's on my Twitter. It's on my Twitter account. It's the Coronavirus Daily Update on what they're doing with testing over there in the UK. I think it's important, especially if we're going to work with them, we should watch their numbers, because our numbers and their numbers should basically be doing the same thing. And it gives you an outside place to look that you can check to see testing results, to see how many they would do. I would think that our goal would be 400,000 a day. I mean, we got close to 300 million people living in the United States. We need them all tested. Every single last one of them needs to be tested. So, all right, why don't you hang on? We'll go ahead and do a commercial or two, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Are you sick of our healthcare system? the lies, constantly putting you on one more drug that isn't covered by your health insurance company. I'm sick of it too. And I found a very old recipe for colloidal silver. It is a liquid solution created using electrolysis to suspend pure metallic elemental silver in groups of particles of 18 atoms or fewer, each with a positive electric charge, attached to a simple protein molecule in distilled water. Some say that the colloidal silver goes back 4,000 years. I found the process that was almost been lost to time. Colloidal silver works just like triple antibiotic ointment. It will keep your cuts clean, and it's an antiviral too. This product could save your life when there's no doctor around, and you can put colloidal silver directly on the wound to keep the infection away. Get yours now at bluecollarpolitics.org. Just click on the BCP store tab and you are on your way to having that doctor in a bottle. Are you tired of coming home to find out only that you've been robbed? Did your alarm company call you and tell you that you've been robbed and the police will be there in 20 minutes? No one can stop all thieves. But at CK Custom Security Consultants, we can design and install a real CCTV security system that will give you the evidence you need to put them away. Here at CK Custom Security Consultants, we do an on-site engineering assessment where we discuss the pros and cons of the different security systems available that just might suit your needs. This service is free. There are several different financial options available for you, and we look forward to meeting you and assisting you in reaching your security goals. CKCustom.com, where all of your security needs are met.
At Benzer Pharmacy, we understand busy. That's why all our locations offer free home delivery, personalized service, refill reminders, and specialty medication, even pet meds.
All right, we are back here on Blue Collar Politics on the Tuesday night at 9 to 11, the late night edition. And I am your host, the biblical survivalist, Thomas A.J. Fry. And we got just about 20 minutes of show left, so we will make the best of it, and we will continue on because we got Moscow coming up next. Moscow Hospital, built in 30 days, is now admitting its first coronavirus patients. I think this is awesome. They built a hospital in 30 days. Moscow's new coronavirus hospital, which was built in 30 days, admitted the first 20 patients, Moscow's mayor's office said in a statement on Tuesday. The center itself has a capacity for 800 beds, which is necessary to be stretched to 900. The hospital head doctor, surgery Parahoda Dove said. According to Parik Hodiv, all beds can be supplied with oxygen to care for people with respiratory failure and be converted into an ICU unit if necessary. The hospital is equipped with an on-site laboratory that can perform up to 10,000 tests a day, the mayor's office said, adding to the facility employs 500 doctors and nurses as they're looking to increase to over 1,000. The construction of the new hospital began on March 12th as Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin vowed to increase the local healthcare system's capacities to help offload other infectious disease facilities that are trying to cope with the influx of the coronavirus patients. All right, we got one from China here. A free press in China may have helped prevent coronavirus pandemic, Media Watchdog says. Bullshit. Media Watchdog reporters without borders criticized China for censoring early coverage of the coronavirus outbreak, telling CNN that the global pandemic may have been averted or lessened had journalists had more freedom in the country. Strongman leaders around the world are using the coronavirus crisis to stifle journalists, the leading press. Freedom Watchdog warned, as it bemoaned a missed opportunity to highlight the severity of the outbreak in the early days in Wuhan, China. Basically, if there had been a free press, that they would, well, yeah, that's true, but there are communistic government tell you what to do, and all that. That's not good. Coronavirus most likely came from animals, not a lab, World Health official says. Now, he doesn't know that. That's purely a guess. I think it very well could have been militarized, and then they handed it, once the civilian got sick with it, they handed the whole thing over to the civilians. And yeah, by saying it started in an animal, that is lying without, that is like lying without avoiding the truth, but it still is the truth. The truth by omission. So in other words, if a military lab went and they have all these animals, you know, they're always testing on animals, so they put this coronavirus in an animal, a monkey, a dog, what the hell ever, and then that animal got loose, or one of the lab people, you know, or a couple of freedom fighters or whatever broke in and released them. Stupid idea. And it got out in the civilian population, so the military just closed the books on it, probably closed the lab down and destroyed it, so there's nothing left of it, no paperwork. You know, that's just how that kind of stuff is done. So to say it probably started in animals, well, yeah, duh, but that does not eliminate the fact that it could have came from a military and been started up as a virus to attack the rest of the world. I mean, if you look at it, China was trying to take over the world. Was their military getting ready to attack the U.S.? I mean, at that time, it would have been the perfect time to do it. We got 26 aircraft carriers, and it would take, 13 would take over 3 months to get back home. So we are quite vulnerable. I mean, we're not now. We got ships all over in ports around the country, so we are well protected. I do not think we need a wall. You know, it cracks me up, okay? Trump says, I'm going to build the wall, and the Spanish are going to pay for it, all right? So the Spanish, a couple weeks ago, I read you the article, they admitted they wanted to pay for it. So that part was coming true. Then all of a sudden, there's a Democrat pushing to put a border fence along Canadian border. Well, don't be an ass, okay? That border does not need a fence along it. Does it need more agents to catch people going between the checkpoints? Yes. Does it need a fence? Hell no. As far as I'm concerned, Canada's our friend. Now, what should really happen is we should be the United States of America and add about 8 more states to it. They're called provinces up in Canada, and I think Canada and the U.S. should be absorbed into one United States of America, and we just go all the way to the North Pole with America. I think it would be cool. There's really not that many Canadians living up there, so it's mostly land, but that would help everybody out and make things a little smoother. But, you know, whatever. We'll see. I think eventually we got to combine forces and it wouldn't be that hard to just take it, but we're not that way. We will do what's right. At least we try to most of the time. But this coronavirus most likely came from animals. Well, no shit, because all warfare attacks like Ancient Orange and everything else that attacked, that they did biological attacks on humans, all that stuff was tested on animals first. So, of course, it came from an animal. But that doesn't say it's not military. That just says it came from an animal. Now, what animal? You have to check. If they say the animal or they figure out the animal, then you have to figure out if it was, if it escaped from a medical lab, a military medical lab or not. So as long as they keep quiet about it, then no one will find out the truth. Well, China, oops, this is kind of backfiring on you, huh? This will blow up in your face like you would not believe. So I think everybody should be careful about what you're doing. Disinfect your hands several times a day. Make sure you are taking care of yourself health-wise, and we will all live to be old men and women and sitting here talking and listening on the radio or whatever form, the internet that you guys are listening on, and we will all have a good time. So I don't want to see anybody get sick. So that's why we do our survival thing. Please don't forget, check out www.bluecollarpolitics.org. Remember, we are an organization and a nonprofit one at that. So we are not out to get anybody. But we do have our versions of, I'm trying to think of the word, that can whoop some ass if necessary. So we'll get down to the bottom of this and where this came from to a point. I don't know if we'll ever find out the truth, but we pretty much will get a considerably a 90% report when all is said and done. That's probably all we have to look forward to. Hopefully this is better. I think I was getting quiet on you guys for a while. All right. So let's see what is up next. Sorry, I was trying to think of the word and everything and talk to you, and I can't think of a word and talk at the same time, so I was trying to think of it real quick between the words I was speaking, and that just wasn't making it. So I'll put it on the Facebook page, or I'll tell you guys about it next week. Don't forget, be here, be square. Blue Collar Politics next Tuesday at 9 p.m. We go from 9 to like about 10:50 because we got to give the next show time to get prepared and get on the air so they can do a full show. Spain cancels its running of the Bulls Festival. That's a shame. The San Fermin Fiesta, Spain's iconic running of the Bulls Festival in Pamplona every July, has been canceled this year as a result of the pandemic. The city's acting mayor, Anne Elizade, announced this will only be the fifth time in history that the festival celebrations have been canceled. Contact tracing must be UK's next national mission, says former health secretary. Mass contact tracing should be the next national mission, and it should be here in America too, because that's the only way you can find the source. But I know a lot of people will say, well, that's invasion of privacy, and I'm the first person for saying we need smaller government and less controls on our lives. But we need a good-sized medical force, and you have to answer a couple of questions, and that's the only way you can find the beginning of this to trace it back. Now, so far they have it traced back to China, but there's still information out there and time gaps where there could have been a few other things in play that could maybe change the difference or, do something along those lines. So you never know until you start studying it. It studies the same way I would study a article, or the same way I would study the Bible or anything else that I've done lots of research on. Is I want to know the entire thing, not just what's in front of me. I want to know where it started. I want to know all this. So if it was in a military lab, then that's another reason why China should pay. If they made it and then let it loose on the world, not a cool move, China. Definitely. So UK starting a system, and we should be starting one too. Russia has sufficient reserves to cope with the oil price collapse, the Kremlin says. Hey, you know what I just realized? An article that's not about the coronavirus. I know, ain't that cool, right? I get to the last 4 minutes of the show, and I find an article that has nothing to do with the coronavirus. Except for timing. And the timing means that once the coronavirus is over, the oil prices will go back up a little bit. And because that's all Russia has to survive on, is the gas and oil that it sells. And that's the only way it can survive. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov on Tuesday said Russia had sufficient cash reserves to offset the collapse in oil prices amid questions about the health of the country's economy. In a conference call with reporters, Peskov downplayed the impact of the crash, saying the collapse in May futures was absolutely speculative moment, a purely trading moment, and that the market shift into negative prices should not be painted in apocalyptic colors. That means there's an end to it. When someone says apocalyptic, I can't say it right. This is not going to bring about the apocalypse, okay? So don't paint it in those colors, because it will get better once we get a treatment for it, or we get an inoculation for it. We will survive. Singapore extends its circuit breaker coronavirus restrictions until June. Singapore will extend the government is calling a circuit breaker coronavirus restrictions until June 1st. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong announced on Tuesday as cases in Singapore continue to climb. In a television speech, Lee said Singapore will extend the circuit breaker for 4 more weeks beyond the 4th of May until June 1st, and provide we have brought community numbers down and we can make further adjustments and consider easing some measures. Okay? Coronavirus could double number of people facing food crisis. Well, it already has. It could quadruple those numbers before it's all said and done, because, last week I talked about the demand and supply issues and the issues we're having with it, with all these Chinese ships full of stuff that people ordered sitting out in the middle of the ocean waiting to get permission to come in to get offloaded, and some of them were even sent back home. So some stuff may not be coming at all. I ran out of gloves, and I'm trying to get more, and the stupid Harbor Freight gave all their gloves to the Nursing Association and the doctors, so we don't have no gloves to wear. I think that was a stupid move, because that was where a lot of people knew to go get it. And I walked with a walker all the way to the back of the damn store to find out they gave all the gloves away. Now, why couldn't you put that sign on the front door so my handicapped ass didn't have to walk all the way to the back to figure that out? Boy, that made me mad that day. I got a few things I needed and then went on with my life. So, where we at? All right, we are at just before 11, so we are going to close out today's Blue Collar Politics. I am glad that everyone came. I really appreciate it, and I hope you're all here next week, and we may even combine the two subjects. But don't forget, Saturday during Sci-Fi Talk, we have Chris Garcia as a guest on it. And just before that, on Friday, we have Thomas Friday News from 5 p.m. till 6. And we'll finish out these articles. And I got a whole bunch of stuff to tell you about what's going on in this country. So I love you. Take it easy. God bless. And may your families keep you and get closer to your family, not angrier.
Does the nonsense you see on the news depress you? There on the TV set is nothing but feel-good fake shows with no way of getting good content programming? Then you need to come and listen to us, and we will tell you the truth. Blue Collar Politics, where the awake come to hear the real news. You are listening to the Saturday night edition of Blue Collar Politics on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network with your host, the biblical survivalist, Thomas Fry, where we will try to awaken one soul at a time and give you the truth to open your eyes to see what the world is really like. We make no promises that you will like the world you see, so it is our duty to tell you the truth and guide you through these perilous times. We direct and produce our own shows where we are listener supported. So if you like the show, please go to bluecollarpolitics.org and hit the donate button. And while you're there, you can check out our store where we have several items for sale. Our magnetic arthritis copper bracelets are selling fast. And don't forget to hit our Facebook page and click like and follow us, because that's where you can find out what is going on with the show even when we are not on the air. I would like to thank you for listening tonight and look forward to seeing you at our next show. So be true to yourself, and God bless you and yours.
Increase of about 758 cases. In the city, there were 680 reported new cases today, also including that backlog, bringing our total to just under 7,000 at 6,904 cases in the city, an 11% increase since yesterday. And the worst part of this evening, each time I report to you, is the 46 deaths that we added to the rolls. This brings our total to 663 fallen angels in our county, a 7% increase since yesterday. For comparison, the past 7 days, we've seen an average daily increase of 44 new deaths, and deaths are doubling every 7 to 8 days. I wanted to add one statistic today that 90.1% of these deaths are occurring with people with so-called comorbidities. That's just a fancy way of saying the folks that we know are the most vulnerable because of their age and their medical conditions. This is especially deadly to them. and we learned that over 50% of our households have somebody over 65 and or people with medical conditions that make them especially vulnerable to death from COVID-19. And as always, my heart, our collective hearts, go out to each one of you who is mourning a loss tonight. California now, with our cases, is 30th per capita in the country. I know we often see the reports that we're 5th most cases, but we're a populous state. And we remain, because of our safer at home measures, in the bottom half of states per capita cases in the country. In our county, our general emergency hospital rooms still look pretty good. 1,433 beds, including 1,201 acute care beds, are currently available, as well as 232 ICU beds, and an inventory of 1,125 available ventilators. That's good news, but we know how quickly a surge can come into those intensive care units, and so we have to keep marching forward and keep staying home to keep those numbers good ones. So we're looking to keep folks healthy and safe and out of those hospital beds, so do your part to make sure that continues. There are now 34 testing locations across Los Angeles County, and today we have the capacity to test 12,200 people. By the end of today, we will have tested approximately 87,000 people just in those centers alone. Add another 20 to 30,000 tests that have been through providers, and we're well north of 100,000 tests that have been conducted here, people tested in Los Angeles County, even more tests than that. There are, yesterday in California, to put this in perspective, 9,600 tests were reported conducted in all of California yesterday. 5,724 of them occurred just in our city and county testing sites. That's 60% of all tests in the state. Combine that with other tests going on in the county, it's probably closer to 2/3 of all the tests in the state were done right here in Los Angeles County, even though we're just 25% of the state population. Thank you to everybody who's working in a test center, whether it's a paramedic firefighter, whether it is one of our core volunteers, or anybody who is helping step up to make sure we get more and more tests every single day. This is our second day of pop-up testing in Skid Row. 186 tests were done there, and hundreds more have been provided to people who are experiencing homelessness through our providers. We now also have 3 mobile teams that are surging into our senior care facilities, our nursing homes, and assisted living facilities. We've also conducted 2,500 proactive medical checks among people who are experiencing homelessness, and we found 100 symptomatic people who are experiencing homelessness and took 35 transports to get them to care and to a place where they can quarantine safely. We are offering same or next day appointments to anybody with symptoms, no matter how mild. And I want to reiterate what I said yesterday. Even if it's mild symptoms, please get that test. We need to know how many people are infectious in our city. We need to know in our county how many people have this so we can talk to their contacts and let public health do their work. So get a test today. Go to coronavirus.lacity.org/testing to sign up for a test tomorrow. Right now, I know every single day this crisis hurts more and more, financially, psychologically, and in the health of our county. And we're mobilizing every resource at our disposal to help you to get through this, and we will get through this together. Hospitality, and tourism industries, as well as janitors and security guards who work in our office buildings, have been hit among the hardest by this crisis. And as a result, tens of thousands of hotel workers, of food service workers, of airport service workers, janitors, security guards have been laid off or furloughed and are now trying to make ends meet without pay. Putting these folks back to work may seem like a long way off, but we have to start preparing for it now. Skilled workers who lost their work need to be the first ones to be rehired. In other words, those folks with decades of experience and seniority who support families and communities can't be the victims when we get back to work of people who are either newer or paid less being hired underneath them. So we need to protect them. And I'm so glad that tomorrow the City Council will take on, led by Nuri Martinez, our Council President, Council members Mike Bonin and Paul Koretz, Marquise Harris Dawson, and Curran Price, legislation that would create a right of recall for those workers, a worker retention ordinance that will allow those workers to come back to those jobs where they greet visitors, where they protect us and our buildings, where they do the work to help a meal get onto a plane flight, or to make sure that we can contain this crisis by being the janitors who make sure our buildings and our spaces are safe. For so many thousands of displaced workers in these industries, this could mean at least a little bit of certainty at this moment of so much insecurity, and a whole lot of fairness as we navigate this crisis. Again, thank you to the council leadership and the council members who are leading on this issue, and I will sign that as soon as it comes to my desk. But let me be clear, there's only so much that we can do locally, and our businesses will suffer. Our unemployment rate will continue to grow even higher without full and complete support from Washington, D.C. Now, our federal support has come in stages. First, the stimulus bill that came in the first round was focused on preparedness and emergency response. The second one on sick leave and unemployment insurance. And the third, what I call the survival package, on support for working Americans and businesses. Today, the Congress and the Trump administration reached a deal on an interim package, some are calling it 3.5, to address gaps in that survival package. There were too many small businesses that couldn't get loans, who didn't bank with the big boys and girls, so couldn't have the access. And here in California, we certainly were a victim of that, and I'll get to that in a moment. So let me first say